Hello, and a very warm welcome to this training session on digital growth, part of the Google News Initiative program. A very important session today on those valuable insights we're looking for from data, those nuggets of gold all publishers are hoping to find in these fast-changing, challenging times. Indeed, the staggering changes with all things digital. I'm sure there's no need to tell you about that. My name is Seamus, your trainer today. Also in the chat, we have the lovely Alistair, who's waiting for your comments and questions. Do say hello. Tell us who you are, where you're based, perhaps the name of your project or what you're publishing. That information is always very useful for us to know our audience in these digital times. So don't hesitate in the chat. Also with us today is Daryl, our broadcast manager, just to make sure we're looking smooth and slick as we start this session. So as you can see there on the screen, our topic today, news, consumer, and real-time content insights. And that's the key word there, isn't it? Insights. Those nuggets of gold, as I say, all publishers are hoping to find. And really, it's a work in progress, isn't it? Looking for those insights, looking for the solutions to these problems we're facing in the media as publishers. It's always very useful at the start just to see where this fits into the overall suite of lessons when it comes to the digital growth program. So you can see there on the screen, this comes under the suite of lessons, data management. We've already had this week understanding your data-driven content. So this morning, NCI and RCI, what actually do those terms mean? Also news tagging guide, something else we'll talk about. And then just after this lesson, the second lesson this morning also on Web Vitals. So learning about LCP, FID, CLS, if those terms are not, if you're not familiar with those terms, we'll look at those. Also taking a look at some case studies, just really how we can optimize our website. You can also see there, this fits into a whole range of lessons. Lots of links, of course, all of this is linked. But you can see there after this, we have advertising revenue, establishing your advertising strategy, optimizing ad revenue, data and ads. You can also see there a whole series of lessons on reader revenue, the models we need for reader revenue, assessing the opportunities that come up, optimizing the user funnel. And you can see there we've already had some business strategy lessons and also audience development. It's also worth pointing out this is a live session we have today, but you can listen back, watch the video again. So on the site where you're watching now, you can actually take a second look at what we've covered. So do take notes, of course, but know that you can go back and watch the video again. Getting the most out of this training, that's another thing we like to talk about right up front. We do want to show you a variety of options available to you, although we do like to say right up front that it's really important that you understand that these are just options. And as I said at the beginning, the world of digital publishing online, complex indeed. Each and every business with different challenges, a different audience. And we all have different resources, don't we? What's possible, what changes we can make. So we are going to share with you case studies, action plans, further resources. Alistair in the chat will share with you lots of links and information. But as we say, all of these are just suggestions. So whatever action, whatever next step that you decide to take, that's going to be very different based on your needs, your experience and aims, of course. So why does this matter? As you can see there, a great looking graph there with some information about your site. Maybe you're already using Google Analytics. I think most of us nowadays know that data is very important, that we need to have some kind of data when we're making decisions, when we're trying to find that pathway forward. So this is a Google Analytics graph. This could be familiar to you. Very simple, this one, just telling us the number of visitors who are coming to us through organic searches. So those searches where no one's paying for us to get those results. Or it could be direct or via a referral, or it could be coming from social media and so on. And of course, it doesn't stop there, does it? Because we can actually dig down a bit further. Maybe this looks familiar to you as well. Excuse me. This is also Google Analytics. Now going a little bit deeper into the data, reporting the time of the day that your site received the most visits, for example, where your visitors are based. We can see the world map there. And also the devices that people are using to access your site. And that can be very important, can't it? Whether people are using, new browsers, the more traditional browsers, what are the devices, mobile phones, tablets, PCs, etc. But it's true that, here we're really just, scratching the surface, aren't we? Because we can get a lot more data, a lot more detail. And so it's true that we're looking for a lot more information, the metrics that can really fill in the gaps for us when we're making those crucial decisions. And it's true, another reason why this is so important, it's true that we can have a lot of metrics, we can have a lot of data, a lot of information coming into us. But really, can we make sense of all that? Are we actually interpreting the data? A big industry at the moment, data journalism. A lot of companies, a lot of media employing data journalists just to get the story behind the data. So that's also very important. So how are you interpreting your data? Are you looking for the right data to fill in those gaps? We often talk about a data tsunami, don't we, as well? It's really just, working out what's important with the mass amount of data that we're receiving every day. Some people talk about millions and millions of pieces of individual data that we can have access to. So just dividing up our lesson today, we're looking at 3 key topics. So News Consumer Insights, NCI, now we know what that stands for. So turning analytics into insight and actions. And then we're going to move on to real-time content insights, RCI. So that's how well our content is performing in real time. And that's the crucial part of this, the word real time. We'll also take a look at the news tagging guide, NTG. This is for publishers who want to get even more insights from the data. So these are tags that you can apply to Google Analytics, for example, to identify right from the get-go what's going to be the useful data for you. And that will then spread through into the NCI and the RCI data that comes through to you. So let's jump straight into it. News Consumer Insights. What is that all about? It's our first topic, very important. A diagnostic tool for news publishers, really putting action and recommendations first. We can say that data is coming in second, but actually what it is actually making sure that we are getting those insights from the data. So if you're using Google Analytics, we can be overwhelmed, can't we, by all of the information coming through to us. But if we can hook into this, the News Consumer Insights, NCI, really key insights, these recommendations based on your Google Analytics data, but really taking this focus on reader engagement, reader revenue, because for a lot of publishers, that's what it's all about, isn't it? So identifying reader funnel optimization opportunities, profitability, that's going to be a key word for most of us, building those deeper relationships with our readers as well. So that's why NCI is very important. Actually, this is about a decision engine we talk about with this. So Google has built this as a decision engine into the NCI application, and this delivers personalized, actionable recommendations based on your Google Analytics data. Really, in essence, it means that you're not having to go through and try to find the insights, to connect the dots, if you like. This is going to be a tool that's going to help you do that. Of course, the human side is going to be very important, but this is just another step that, it means you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours going through trying to analyze, trying to connect those dots. So let's introduce you to the audience types defined within the NCI framework. So based on the analysis of your Google Analytics data, NCI is going to come up for you It's going to try to come up with personalized, actionable recommendations. I think that's important. Personalized, so really just for you, based on that initial data. And obviously it's helping to grow loyalty, as you can see there, to capture better user data. The first thing that you're going to notice when you're inside NCI is the fact that it sorts the readers out into 3 categories. So we're going to have casual readers, loyal readers, and then we're going to have what we call brand lovers. So these are, put into segments. This is your reader funnel. The default option there is the last 30 days. So a casual reader, that's just 1 visit, for example. A loyal reader, that would be between 2 and 14 visits. And brand lovers, that's going to be at least 15 visits. And so we're all wanting lots of those, don't we? Lots of brand lovers coming to see our website. So let's look at the 3 areas now of support that NCI is proposing to you as a publisher. As you can see there, reader engagement, number 1, very important. Reader revenue. And actually, NCI also does focus on video insights as well, because we know that's a big topic now for lots of companies, lots of publishers, getting videos and audio onto websites as well. But actually, we're going to take a closer look at these first 2 options in this lesson. You can find out more about NCI, the options available, if you're particularly interested in video insights. And Alistair in the chat will be sharing some links for this. Excuse me. So you can, then go through afterwards and have a look at that as well. Sorry if I'm coughing a little bit here. I'll try to make sure I can turn off the microphone if the cough gets worse, but it shows that we're live, doesn't it? It's like we're all on these Zoom calls in this digital age, so coughs hopefully not too disturbing. The worst is a cat or a member of the family coming past. So those are our 3 areas of support we're going to focus on. Let's take a look at reader engagement. And we're also going to be looking at something called RES, which is the Reader Engagement Score, and actually using 4 user metrics per audience segment. So the reader engagement performance of your site calculated by deep diving, as you can see there on the metrics, visit depth and the visit frequency. That's what we talk about. So the RES, the Reader Engagement Score, is going to serve really as a reference point. So you can easily identify those performance gaps. And you can compare those, of course, to the NCI benchmarks, just so you know where you're placed when it comes to all of this. So the Reader Engagement Score, the RES, actually consists of 4 user metrics per audience segment. This is measured over the past 30 days. That's the default. So visits per reader, pages read per visit. So how many articles does a user read per visit? The visit length, how long is the reader staying on the site? And that's going to be an average session duration. And then we're going to look at total pages read per user. So the page views per user, how many articles is a user reading on average across all visits. And that then is backed up with a list of these actionable recommendations, these suggestions. Also to tell you how you can go about doing the actions proposed. So if you need more visits, we can look at newsletters. That could be an option recommended to you. Getting your readers to subscribe to web push. So those push alerts that are sent out to people's browsers, and even if they don't, actually have your app downloaded. So these push alerts for news organizations, we're using that a lot now, aren't we, for breaking news. We can talk about, boosting your social strategy, for example. If you're needing longer visits, for example, we could be looking at your recirculation strategy. So getting the most out of articles, making sure there are pathways from one article to something else. So, background articles as well, historic articles that we read and were very popular maybe a year ago. So the recirculation. Also, this key question of is your mobile site fast enough? So these could be some of the options that are recommended to you. How you can get your users to click on the videos. how can you get more call to action options on your websites, and how can I get more users to watch the videos right to the very end? And so all of that is actually part of the data about people staying longer on your website. And there are lots of tips that the NCI is able to give you when it comes to that, when it comes to reader engagement. There's actually a playbook with all of this. It's a PDF that you can download when it comes to the NCI. Alistair will be able to put that into the chat as well. That's a PDF that you can make great use of. It's always great to look at some examples of where this is working well. So we have one here when it comes to reader engagement. This is WRAL.com. This is an NBC affiliate in North Carolina. They actually offered newsletters to readers, but they actually admit that in the beginning they didn't actually view those as a way to grow overall audience. It was only after analyzing audience data using the NCI, the News Consumer Insights framework, that the company says that it really understood the importance of newsletter subscribers. And they're actually, for this organization, turned out to be the most engaged readers. And as you can see there, once they got this sorted out, they boosted their newsletter subscribers by 15%. So a great result there for that news organization. Another case study, this is a Greek newspaper, a Sunday paper. They actually launched their website in 2008. Building up a reputation in Greece, accuracy, authority, credibility when it comes to news. And actually, they found more recently, using News Consumer Insights, they found that they were able to find ways to engage further with the online readers. So based on the recommendations they got from the NCI, this is Protothema, they made changes to their social mobile strategy. Actually brought in some on-site changes, such as promoting their best content. And this really was a focus on getting new readers, keeping the readers they had. They boosted this with a newsletter as well, and also these web push notifications, first-party web push notifications. They're great because you can send these out instantaneously. They go straight into the browser of the person who's signed up, and as long as they agree to receive those push alerts. So it was only about a month after actually looking at the NCI recommendations that they actually brought these changes in. And as you can see, they're up 21% in terms of reader visits. Excuse me. Organic improvements. This is another case study. So this is Independent News and Media, Ireland's leading newspaper, online news publishers. And this is an organization also that used the NCI to really better understand the whole question of loyalty when it comes to readership, exploring those channels that maybe could drive more sustainable traffic. And actually discovering that one area of traffic was not actually in keeping with the performance of the rest of its sources. So, and this was organic search. Even though organic search, actually for lots of organizations, that would normally be a key volume traffic source, a loyalty channel, if you like, for news publishers. And of course, organic search, it's always good to define that, because I've heard lots of people use different definitions of this, but for us, it's really those search results that are coming to us thanks to the algorithms, mostly thanks to the algorithms, and not really dependent on whether someone has paid for us to receive those particular search results. So for the Independent News and Media in Ireland, that was very important. They used the data they got from NCI, the recommendations from the playbook, and they actually looked at their foundational data across their website to make sure that it was marked up correctly. So we're talking about structured data formats, and that was one big area they wanted to work on. So the structured data formats, of course, these are the standardized blocks of data that every news organization is going to use when it comes to an article. So a headline, a byline, the text, etc. On other websites, this would be name, address, bank details, etc. So the structured data, making sure that that's easy to read by the machines when it comes to the algorithms for the search results. And that's very important. These machines are reading through what we have, and it's got to be structured if it's going to come up with those nuggets of gold. And so as you can see there, independent news and media up more than 10% when it came to their organic search visits. So that was very important for them. So reader revenue, this is the other part of this we wanted to focus on. So just explaining this, this comes in the playbook as well. Ways that you can turn engaged readers into paying customers through good practice. And that's what it's all about, having those good practices. And it's also about profitability, isn't it? So not just having engaged readers, but making sure that they're putting their money where their mouth is and actually, signing up for things. So reader revenue, as you can see there, Google surveys, that can be very useful to get real-time or almost real-time feedback from all kinds of readers who come to your site. So really optimizing key components of your reader revenue strategy. We possibly could say if Google Analytics is giving you the what, perhaps Google surveys is really giving you the why, and maybe also the how from your readers. So that direct feedback via Google surveys. And that's been used by lots of organizations, very good results. So on average, it's interesting, less than 1% of news publishers' traffic visits subscription pages. So the marketing messages you're using, very crucial indeed, trying to improve subscription packages awareness. Interesting also, just a couple of figures. You have normally between 0 and 8 seconds for a mobile landing page to be compelling. After 8 seconds, what we say now is the majority of visitors are leaving. So it's coming to, the sales pitch. You've got 7 seconds to make your point, to be loved by the people you're talking to. Otherwise, it's too late. So those first impressions, exactly the same for a website. And so while readers are mostly on mobile, desktop, tablet landing pages, these are crucial. They're providing more opportunities for you to showcase what you have on offer, your values, what you're offering to your readership. Also interesting there, the checkout flow. That's been very important, and there are a couple of examples of this in our case studies where the checkout was very important. So, excuse me, a very important part of the web experience, because that's where all the work that you've put into getting customers, informing them, trying to keep them, it's actually converted to revenue, to return on investments, those crucial ROIs. So it's important to note that 69% of all e-commerce visitors are actually abandoning their shopping cart. 69%. So one thing that I've done on a couple of websites that I have is actually to have follow-ups. So I actually have an automated system of emails getting in touch with those customers, those visitors who abandon the shopping cart, and that's an automation. So that's being sent out by my website. I don't need to do anything. And so getting that dialogue going. Why did you abandon that? Was there a problem? Would you like to look at something else? Also, ad blockers, also very important. You can see there on the list. So reclaiming ad revenue. It's really about identifying those visitors who are using an ad blocker, and they're very common now. Asking them actually directly, allow my site to be on your whitelist. So the whitelist, of course, we have the blacklist. We have a whitelist as well. So yes, you are on my whitelist. I will allow ads on your site. Not forgetting that 54% latest survey show of users don't even know what the term whitelist means. So if you're going to use that term, maybe sometimes it's just better just to say, will you allow my website to show you adverts? Can be as simple as that. And that can be also part of, the Google surveys. Excuse me, getting people's reactions to all of that, and what's the best way to get them on side when it comes to, all of the things on your website working, and that they're in agreement with all of that. Again, so Alistair will have put into the chat a useful address for this. So the NCI playbook, very important. And all of this is covered. All of this is in there. So if you can get hold of that, that can be very useful as well. Let's just take a look at another case study. So Business Insider, late 2017. They actually rolled out a consumer subscription product. BI Prime, they called it, actually a freemium model, so between premium and free. So the majority of the news remains available to readers free of charge. And then you have selected articles that can only be accessed by paying subscribers. So we've seen that now a lot, haven't we? Lots of organizations are using this freemium model. So often in my case, though, the ones that are free are not the articles that I want to read. And maybe that's deliberate, trying to get me to sign up. But actually, BI Prime, this example here, they wanted to identify those opportunities to optimize Business Insider's reader funnel, so growing this potential subscriber base. And they actually implemented some audience development tactics inspired by the results, the recommendations within the NCI. And as you can see there, the result, massive, up 150% when it came to subscription revenue just in one quarter, up 40%, higher share of long-term subscribers in 2 months. So that freemium subscription model inspired by NCI really working well there as well. Here's another case study, the New Yorker. So leveraging NCI's data framework, key business teams across the New Yorker. And that's, one thing that's possibly important here, getting these teams right across the magazine. So audience development, consumer marketing, the product teams working together hand in hand to address these challenges of getting the happy readers, if you like, to fork out money to actually subscribe. So after doing everything, everything they could to make reading the digital product faster, to make it more attractive, they decided to follow these reader revenue recommendations, best practices from the NCI. And as you can see there, the conversion rate on mobile devices, so those people signing up for subscriptions, up 18%. And that was just over a period of just 4 months. So very interesting there as well. Time for a cough and a question. So does that inspire you? Does that make you feel like you want to get more insights and to get those recommendations, insights, and then the recommendations? Are they something that could be interesting for you? Maybe you're already starting to look at that. Maybe you've already started to tinker with that with NCI. Hopefully this has been inspiring. That's the question. Do share your remarks and questions in the chat with Alistair. At the end of the lesson, if there are any questions, we can definitely try to get to those. Also, don't forget that later today, and Alistair will put the information for this in the chat, we're going to have a roundtable. So it's a chance actually to have a direct conversation with myself and with Alistair on some of these crucial points. So, do bear that in mind. So we have 2 lessons this morning, and then this afternoon we have a roundtable. Alistair will put that into the chat as well. So let's take a look at an activity. So getting started with NCI, if this is new for you. It's worth pointing out that this is completely free. It's completely free to use. And, NCI, we say that it's been designed to be intuitive, to be simple to use. So the only thing that you're going to need to access this tool actually is an email address that's associated with your Google Analytics account. So if you don't have a Google Analytics account, that's something that you'll need to do to have an email associated with that. So what you're doing is authorizing this tool to get access to your Google Analytics data, and then connecting your Google Analytics account, and visit the settings tab. And so also the left navigation bar on this is going to take you through to the insights pages covered by the News Consumer Insights NCI. So once you've got that started, the NCI playbook is going to lead you through all of the operations. They're going to suggest these best practices, And there'll be lots of sections covered. You can see there just some of the examples on the list here. How to use News Consumer Insights 2. Okay, so there's a second version. Recommendations to improve reader engagement revenue. The decision engine we talked about. So the insights on readers' performance. Comparing your data to the benchmarks. That's going to be very important. There's also the conversion rate optimization insights. And then, as we said before at the very beginning, there are also insights on your video content, the way videos are being consumed across your site. Excuse me. And then at the end of the list, the top insights card is going to help you digest all of the insights throughout this tool. So it's very comprehensive. There's lots of things. Take a look at it, have a play. If it's not something that you think you can use straight away, sign up and have a play with it. There's a playbook. See if it could be useful, even if you're focusing only on a couple of things. But it's just really good keeping this in mind. And it really is tailored for the news consumer, for publishers. So really, it's something really to take advantage of. Let's take a look now at real-time content insights, so RCI. So we have NCI, we have RCI. So the key word here, of course, is real-time, live, if you like. And here's actually an example of this, the power of real-time data in journalism. Lots of us won't need to be told this, the power of the data when it comes to journalism. When you have a moment, take a look at this YouTube video. This is from a newspaper. This is the Listening Center. Okay, this was it's actually called the Listening Center Trend Recognition Module. So this was actually a project that came out of a regional newspaper in Germany, in Dusseldorf, the Rheinische Post. And this is actually a tool using social media listening to keep track of, and I think the figure there was about 400 million different data sources across digital platforms. So, this whole challenge for news outlets to identify the important stories, the stories that have impact before they go viral, to find out what's trending. This has been very important. It just shows the power of data and journalism. If you get a chance, Alistair will share this in the chat, the YouTube link for this. It's a great watch from Dusseldorf. And actually, why is that important? Because it's really a good introduction for real-time content insights, because it's the same concept. RCI, a tool where we're trying to identify the stories and the videos that are the most popular with readers. So that's real time. So we're actually really seeing how our content is performing. So this is a tool that's going to identify all of that, the most popular things that came across for your readers, the broader topics as well, trending in your region. So really, this is something to make a lot of use of. These are really quick to understand data visualizations that you can show your newsroom. You can actually put these up on big screens on the newsroom. I've seen this. It's you can actually have the tool on full screen. You can put it up so all of the journalists, everybody in the newsroom, can actually keep tabs in real time on how their stories are performing on the website. And that's available for publishers using all versions of Google Analytics. So that's something very interesting there as well. So let's just have a look. So Google's real-time content insights newsroom view. So this is a dashboard, and I was just talking about this dashboard style top-level report page. And that, as I say, you can show that to the newsroom. It can be refreshed automatically every 180 seconds. It does that for you. So it's going to do things like identify, as you can see there on the list, the trending articles on your site, to see where your real-time readers, where they're coming from. So, if you're a regional newspaper, do you have readers outside of the region? Are you forgetting about a particular audience that, people are coming to you? Enabling engaging data visualization is going to determine the articles, the videos that are driving the most engagement. So comments, possibly interaction. Excuse me, where people are clicking, where they're clicking through to, the recirculation concept. And as I say, also knowing what's trending in your region, because that's important as well, isn't it? To know whether you're covering the stories that people are talking about where you're publishing. So just a quick overview when it comes to historic articles. So this is covered as well. One of the reports actually within RCI is the performance of those previous articles that you had. And this is by page views and also videos, if that's applicable for you, by the number of views. There'll be a selected time frame, as you can see there, the default, the past 30 days, but you can change that. So these stories and video given a content engagement ranking, so the CER, and that's going to look beyond just the page views, and it's going to look across all key engagement metrics, so recirculation, the percentage of loyal readers, etc., really providing a new analysis of your content and what's really impacted your audience. As I say, 30 days, but it can be longer than that as well. Look at some metrics in historic article performance. So here's just one example. So this was an article, I'm not sure if you can see that there on the screen, it's quite small, but just I'll fill you in. So this was an article called Everything You Wanted to Know About Medicine and Were Too Afraid to Ask. You can see there on the dashboard, you can see there on the screen, it spots the pages getting unusually high performance stats, so not just the page views. And here your content engagement ranking is 6 on this example, and the page view rank is 15. So it looks like the story is getting loyal readers, enjoying good recirculation, not to mention driving clicks to affiliate links. But, and despite not being top actually in terms of page views, so you can see there the page views 43,000, newsletter sign up was 1%. I think if you can see there, if you can see that. The loyal readers, though, 73%, recirculation 64%, even though the comment rate was 7%, the social share rate, for example, 4%. So some great insights there and where we can improve things. So this is another case study, and I think there's a slight confusion here. We can see Rappler and also Independent News and Media. So perhaps we'll move on because we have another case study which we're absolutely certain about. This is Dainik Jagran, an Indian Hindi language daily newspaper. This is one of the largest in the country. And actually what they did, this was after the general elections in 2019. The paper took a data-driven approach to increasing reader engagement to have market monetization. And so as the site traffic continued to grow in the run-up to the elections, this paper began to see that its engagement KPIs actually increased with that growth. So after identifying this, and they used RCI, they saw this as an opportunity to further drive engagement, to develop the brand loyalty, to maximize revenue. So they developed the strategy, taking advantage of this moment really before the general elections. So one of the questions, would you like to try this out? Could this be useful? Real-time content insights. This is something that a lot of people may have heard of Google Analytics. Some people may have heard of NCI. So the News Consumer Insights, but maybe this is something new for you as well, this real-time content insights. If you're a news organization really that's doing a lot of breaking news, a lot of lives, if your website is very active, if you're publishing daily, even 2 editions per day, this could be very useful for you as well. So let's just move on to another activity. So getting started with RCI, just to make sure that you understand how this works. So what do you need to use this? Again, this is completely free to use. So all that is necessary is to have a Google account associated with Google Analytics. So this can be the standard or the 360 version. You need to have this implemented on your publication. So basically you authorize the tool to get access to your Google Analytics data. So of course you need to have a Google Analytics account and you need to connect that to the account and visit the setup tab, just like NCI. You also then select the section in RCI that you want to focus on. So real-time article performance, real-time video performance, and historic performance, etc. Just some of the examples. Excuse me. So hopefully that's inspired you to get started using RCI. Don't forget to make contact with Alistair in the chat if you have any comments or questions about any of this. Alistair, I'm sure, is also putting into the chat all of the links that you need if you want to go and quickly sign up for this. And there are the playbooks as well. So please don't hesitate to make contact with Alistair there in the chat. Even if it's not a question, even just a comment, if you have something you'd like to say, something we can share with everybody else, that would be great as well. Just one final thing I wanted to focus on. This is the news tagging guide, the NTG. So this is part of all of this. And you can use this actually to highlight the right news and the publishing metrics that you want to measure in Google Analytics. And that's really to get even better NCI and RCI data afterwards. So news organizations around the world, we know they would agree that identifying the right metrics to collect in Google Analytics, so right from the get-go, is going to be very important to make sure that you have the right data streaming through afterwards. So this is a free tool, the News Tagging Guide. You can actually put this in, identify the metrics right, as I say, right up front within Google Analytics. This is going to simplify Google Analytics, the technical implementation. These tags are ready to copy paste onto your site. And these are really going to boost the recommendations and the insights that you'll get afterwards from NCI and from RCI, so News Consumer Insights and Real-Time Content Insights. And so the data components, just quickly on that, that are covered: video analytics, for example, user engagement, reader revenue. So specific NTG tags are going to give you access to these specific insights and real-time content insights reports. So the scroll depth analysis, just one example, video consumption, and even more advanced data when it comes to content engagement ranks for your articles, the ranking there. A key tip here is that NTG, the news tagging guide, will actually probably give you about an extra 20% in terms of the features that you'll get in the NCI and RCI frameworks as well. Equivalent to setting up goals in Google Analytics, and perhaps bear in mind that the more goals you put in, perhaps that's going to push you to the paid version, but maybe you can start with the free version and just see how that goes. So those are the essentials. Just a quick summary of what we had a look at today. So the News Consumer Insights, you'll want to take a look at the playbook, go to the links that Alistair gave you to get more information on this, but essentially turning analytics into those into that crucial insight, into the action recommendations. Then we looked at the real-time content insights, the RCI. We'll never forget now what those mean, NCI, RCI, and then also we finished there with the news tagging guide. Don't forget that. That can be very important just for adding this boost when it comes to the data that you can use. So at this point, I think we have a couple of minutes for any questions. And it was just good to see if there are any questions in the chat. And one of the questions there from Unrelated Works, who I know is based in Germany. Hello and welcome again. Which key metric do you see as the most important? That's a big question. Gosh, the number of times that people have asked that question. I would say, for me, it's the speed. It's the speed of the website. Of course, we've been looking there at the news insights and the real-time insights, but a lot of this really comes back to the basic metrics. How long are people taking to download my site, and also how long are people staying? And often that's linked, so if somebody's coming on, if it's taking too long for the speed, if it's taking too long for things to download, people are not going to be inclined to want to hang around. So for me, that's one of the most important metrics, speed. And actually the next lesson we do after this, we'll actually hone in on that. We'll focus on that. So very important question. Under EU law, another question from Unrelated Works. Under EU law, to which disclaimer do I have to link? Okay, so I've had this situation as well with the websites that I have in Europe, and actually I was given templates for this. So you can actually try to see if your web provider can actually give you this. And it can be quite wordy. You need to have this on your website. And if you're an EU-based website, and most of your customers are in Europe, then you absolutely have to have this. You have to have this disclaimer. You have to have this information on your website. It's funny because if you ask the big tech companies, and if you ask the web providers, if you ask Google, etc., they don't give you a definite answer, because every person really has to look at their own situation. I know that when I reached out trying to get information on this, how do I use this when it comes to EU law? What should I use when it comes to disclaimers, to information, the obligatory information on websites? They actually said you need to go and consult a legal expert. Because they're covering themselves, aren't they? Because it really depends on the country, depends on the kind of service. Interesting question. That could be a great question for the roundtable as well. Unrelated works. I think your name was Flo as well. That could be a great question just to see, what some of the options are there. So I don't know if there are any other questions. Those are the two questions we had in the chat. So don't forget, we do have a roundtable. Alistair will have put the link for that in the chat. So we have that coming up. As we saw in the very beginning, what some of the lessons that could be very useful linked to this topic could be advertising revenue and reader revenue. So establishing your advertising strategy, optimizing ad revenue and reader revenue models. And we talked about that, didn't we? Reader engagement, really trying to get this connection with our readers, trying to improve that as well. So don't forget that. Continuing the journey, let's just finish with this as well. We talk about deep dives. So these are the round tables that are free for you to come to. This is with Google Meet. Alistair can put the link for that into the chat. He'll also put the time for that. It's this afternoon. And don't forget, we have another lesson coming up straight after this. We have another lesson where we're going to look at web vitals, so making sure that our websites are healthy. There are also things called labs, and you can find out about this on the Google News Initiative website. So these labs, in a sense, more deep dives, more in-depth training when it comes to the GNI Digital Growth Program. Also, don't forget, Alistair will put this into the chat. We need your feedback. Very important to us to know how we can improve things, to know what you need to know, to actually know what you're wanting us to cover in these lessons as we all face these challenges as part of the digital transformation. So I hope it's been useful. Thank you so much for your time. Don't forget, we have another lesson starting in just under 15 minutes time. So looking at web vitals, and I'll explore even further my point about speed, why speed is so important when it comes to all of this, just an answer to Flo's question there. And also, don't forget the round table as well. So thank you very much. Hopefully see you in just under 15 minutes time, if not for another lesson. Take care and see you soon. Bye for now.